Hello and welcome to today's lesson. Thank you guys so much for joining me. My name is Wes, and here on our channel at Interactive English, it's all about just trying to help you guys practice and improve your English skills. And today it's a grammar lesson, and it's about trying to help you. Well, there's a lot of different grammar that we're going to talk about in today's lesson because it is all about correcting your grammar mistakes. And this is I think it's very important, especially in writing. If you are writing an important email or some important message in English and you want to make sure that it's correct, the first thing you need to do is just go back and reread it and see if you can identify those mistakes. And that's what we're going to practice in this lesson, is trying not only to identify different grammar mistakes, but then see if you can correct them as well and say, okay, here is the mistake. This is how we need to correct it. Now, so I have a bunch of different questions for you, and I'll give you the sentence. We'll see if you can identify where there's a problem with the grammar, and then I'll tell you the answer. And also, after every answer, if you want more information about this specific grammar, I will give you a link to a previous lesson that I did talking all about the grammar, if that's something you would like to learn a little bit more about. And I've mentioned that this lesson I tried to make it for everyone, for beginner learners, intermediate learners, as well as advanced learners. And we're going to start with a little bit easier grammar. And then as we go through these, it's going to get a little more difficult. And at the end, those will definitely be advanced grammar questions. So we'll see. I'm very confident that you guys are going to do very well on this practice. So I do just want to give a quick shout out to some people who are with me right now. Hello, Vincent, Lolly, Aiden, great to see you guys. Shivani, Lolly, Diane, Edward, thank you guys. I will try to mention some more names as we go through the lesson. But let's just begin, all right? So here is the first question that I have for you, all right? And this is something that I might say, but there is a mistake, all right? Before we begin, please go ahead and hit a like button. All right. Now, in this sentence, in this statement, there's a problem. There is a grammar problem. See if you can identify it. If you can, write it in the chat. Let me know what you think the problem is. And also see if you can correct it. So what do you think? All right. What do you think is the problem with this sentence? All right. Well, I don't want to give you too many hints or clues. Before we begin, please go ahead and hit a like button. All right. All right. I see. Yes, Leah and Shivani. Excellent. So the problem is with the article a like button. All right. In this case, we're talking about a specific count noun. So you should say, before we begin, please go ahead and hit the like button. And I give you a little more information here. We use the article the when referring to specific count nouns. So in this case, where the word button is a count noun. You can have more than one button. So for example, right now in front of you, there are two buttons. There's a like button and a dislike button. And if I'm being specific, I'm talking about the like button. The same way that if you go somewhere and somebody says, oh, here, why don't you sit in a chair? They're not specific, they're talking about any chair. But if I'm specific and say, sit in the blue chair, that is when you would want to use the article the definite article. And if you want to learn more about the definite article the, I'm going to throw this. I'll put these links down in the description below once the lesson is over. And I'm also going to put them in the chat right here. So this is a lesson that I did all about the rules of when you should use this definite article. So this was the mistake in here. It's just talking about the article a, an, or the. All right. The next question, or the next statement that I have for you is this one. All right. This weekend, I bought a blue brand new shirt. All right. What's the problem with this sentence? And again, with grammar, I think if you know that there's a problem, first of all, because I've told you that there is a problem. Even if you're not sure about it, I hope that you can at least read the sentence and think, okay, this just does not sound right. This doesn't sound natural. Somebody would say, oh, this weekend I bought a blue brand new shirt. All right. What do you think is the problem with this sentence? All right. And these are different. They're all going to be different. So it's not about the article. All right. All right, so again, Claudia, yes, you kind of got it. The order, maybe this is challenging. Aiden, excellent. Eloisa, the problem is with those adjectives. When you're talking about, I bought a blue brand new shirt, all right? There are two different adjectives, blue and brand new. And those are not in the right order, because when you're talking about adjective order, you would say, this weekend, I bought a brand new blue shirt. You're going to put the condition of something, if it's brand new, if it's old, you're going to put that before the color. And those are pretty common adjectives that people would use when describing something. They're going to use the condition and the color. Like, I drive an old red truck. All right, I put old before the condition, before the color, and the old red truck. So in this case, we're talking about a brand new blue shirt. Adjective word order. If this is something, again, if you want to learn more about adjective word order, I did a live lesson a while back, and I talk about it in much greater detail. Again, I will throw this in the chat. So I hope this helps you, that if you are not able to get something correct and you think, oh, I didn't know that, then you can go look at these other lessons, and hopefully that will help you learn a bit more about this specific grammar. All right. So let's go for the next one. See if you can identify the mistake here. All right. Now this is, it's a conversation between different people. Person A, person B. And it starts out with person A saying, did you enjoy the meal? And then person B said, Wes ate everything but the broccoli. Oh, really? Why? He just don't like it. Okay, so this is a conversation between two people, person A and person B. Did you enjoy the meal? Wes ate everything but the broccoli. Oh, really? Why? He just don't like it. Okay, so I hope that maybe this one, it stands out a little bit more, this mistake, this grammar mistake. And yes, if some of you, if you've been following many of our lessons, I have an ongoing rivalry with broccoli. All right, I've mentioned that several times before. So yes, excellent. Nat, Daniel, Eloisa. So the problem is subject verb at the end. He just don't like it. We don't say he don't. He doesn't. All right? He doesn't. He just doesn't like it. Excellent. Hello. Oh, Rod. Excellent. Perfect. Gustav, Vicky, welcome. So subject verb agreement, he doesn't. And the reason why I chose this is because this is one of the times where I definitely hear learners make a mistake, not just with writing, but with speaking as well. Because you say, if you want to say the negative, do not. I do not. We do not. You do not. But if the subject is he, she, or it, then you're going to use he doesn't, she doesn't, it doesn't. So in this case, it's just subject verb agreement. And this is something, again, I think you may hear it. People, even people in the US, you may hear them break this rule if you're watching a movie or a TV show. So I understand why it might confuse people if they hear other people breaking this rule, but just be careful, especially with your writing, because writing is a bit more formal. You want to make sure that the subject agrees with the verb. And if you want to learn more about subject-verb agreement, all right, right there in the chat, I put that link to a lesson we did on subject-verb agreement. The next one, let's look at the next question. Let's just move right along and say, this is true. Not this. There's a mistake with this, but I could say, to tell you the truth, I'm really excited about this lesson. All right? To tell you the truth, I'm really excited about this lesson. What is the mistake in this sentence? I'll give you a hint. What word is the problem? And even if you're not able to identify exactly what the problem is, I hope that you can at least read it and think something is not right. This just does not sound normal, natural for somebody to say a sentence like this. All right, so I think many of you were able to identify it. Yes, Bushrab, Zanab, Gosia. The word exciting, that is the problem. Instead of using the ing adjective, I should use the ed adjective. To tell you the truth, I'm really excited about this lesson. And there are many different adjectives that are ed ing. For example, bored or boring. Excited, exciting, tired, tiring, exhausted, exhausting. And it's important to know the difference because we use those ed adjectives in general to describe like a feeling, the way a person feels, like I'm excited. Ing adjectives are often used to describe a situation. If you're describing a movie, oh, the movie I saw last week, it was so exciting. The movie was exciting. So keep that in mind, those ed and ing adjectives. And again, if you want to know a little bit more and do some more practice, here is a link to a lesson that I did quite a long time ago on ed and ing adjectives. And I will put all of these links down in the description after the lesson. So in case you want to go back and learn a little bit more about this specific grammar. Let's continue. So we're starting, it's going to continue getting a little more difficult slowly, little by little. So this one, a question, have you ever went to Thailand? All right, what do you think? Have you ever went to Thailand? So this is the grammar that we're talking about. It's called the present perfect. It's a question in the present perfect. So I'm telling you right now, it should be the present perfect. It's a very common question if you're talking about places that you want to travel or places you have traveled in the past. Or somebody might say, hey, they wouldn't say, have you ever went to Thailand? Instead, yes, I think excellent. You guys rock that one. We're say Martha, Rita, Rose, perfect. Have you ever, you could say a few different things, and I gave you some different examples. You really need to use the past participle because when we're talking about the present perfect, you're going to have the helping verb, which is have, plus the past participle. So in this case, I actually changed the verb. I said, have you ever been to Thailand? The reason why I changed the verb is because I think this is a little more common that somebody would use the verb to be. Have you ever been to Thailand? Have you ever been to China? Have you ever been to Brazil? However, you could still use that verb go, and go, went, gone. Gone is the past participle, and it's perfectly fine. You could say, have you ever gone to Thailand? That is a question in the present perfect. Or maybe you want to use travel. Have you ever traveled to Thailand? All of those are correct. You just need to make sure that you are using the verb have plus the past participle. But just in case you're wondering what the difference is, I think more common, people would ask this using the verb to be. Have you ever been? Have you ever been to some place? All right. Excellent. You guys rock that one. Let's look at the next one. All right. We have a conditional Oh, wait. I forgot to throw in, again, if you want to learn a little bit more about the present perfect, here's a lesson, another lesson that I did quite a long time ago. All right. So we're moving into a conditional sentence. All right. If it will rain tomorrow, we'll plan a picnic for next weekend. All right. I told you it is a conditional sentence, but there is a mistake. There is a grammar mistake. And what do you guys think? Can you identify the mistake? If it will rain tomorrow, we'll plan a picnic for next weekend. All right. So let's see. Excellent. Amnati, Sarisha, Dari, sorry if I mispronounced names. Excellent. When you're talking about the first conditional, you're talking about something that is, well, true, but likely it's something in the future. So in this case, you're going to have the if clause, which is going to be your condition, and then the result is going to be your main clause. And the reason I'm using these words like your if clause and your main clause, because your main clause, that is where the main verb should be. And when I say main verb, that is the verb that really determines if something is in the present, if it's in the past, or if it's in the future. So our main clause, which is we'll plan a picnic for tomorrow, that is going to be our future tense verb. So in the if clause, which is our condition, if it rains tomorrow, you will use the present simple. So that is just a rule if you're talking about the first conditional, that in the condition, you're going to use the present simple. In the result, you're going to use the future tense. If it rains tomorrow, we'll plan a picnic for next weekend, okay? So I know this is something that I think can confuse learners when you talk about conditional sentences, because they might think, oh, I'm talking about the future. Why can't I say if it will rain? But you got to remember that that is not the main clause, all right? That is your if statement, and that is not going to determine the time that something happens. So just remember present simple and then the future. And if you want to learn more about the first conditional, again, you're in luck, because I have this whole entire lesson that I've done on the first conditional. I've actually done lessons on all the conditionals if you want more information about them. So let's continue and see, just practice identifying these different grammar mistakes. I think some of this maybe some of it's a little challenging for you guys. Perhaps some of it is easy for you. Again, I tried to make this lesson for as many learners as possible, and started with a little bit easier grammar, and now it's starting to get a little more difficult. And hopefully, again, if you see something that, well, I just did not know this grammar, that you can go watch the other lesson, and that'll help you understand it a little bit better. So this one, my bike was stole last night. Again, even if you don't know the reason why it's wrong, hopefully you can look at it and be like, yes, this just does not sound right whatsoever. My bike was stole last night. And I already see everybody, right? There's just too many people to acknowledge at this point. Yes, my bike was stolen. So in this case, stolen is the past participle. There's that word again, because we use the past participle in different instances. So if we're talking about the verb, steal is the present tense, stole is the past tense, stolen is the past participle. And the reason we're using the past participle is because this sentence is in the passive voice. And I've done a whole other lesson between active voice and passive voice. And when you're talking about the passive voice, you're going to have your subject plus the verb to be, which in this case was, and it's the past tense, plus the past participle. My bike was stolen last night. I could say, like, my bike was stolen last night by someone, but in this case, I really don't need to say by someone because, well, it's just not necessary. Now, hopefully, maybe if I wanted to change it to the active voice, in that case, the same meaning would be someone stole my bike. All right. So both of those sentences, they have pretty much the same meaning. It's just one is the active voice, one is the passive voice. And if that is a topic that you would like to learn a little bit more about, again, throwing that down in the chat. Let's look at the next one. Number 8. I try to avoid to eat too much junk food. All right, it's getting, maybe, again, in my opinion, I think it's a little more difficult. I try to avoid to eat too much junk food. What do you think is the problem with this sentence? What word or words do we need to change in order to make this sentence grammatically correct? All right. I tried to avoid to eat too much junk food. I think a lot of you see it. Yes. Excellent. Sleepwalker. Mike Tyson. Eating. All right. I try to avoid eating too much junk food. In this case, we're talking about the difference between gerunds and infinitives. So a gerund is that you have that word, which is typically a verb with the ing ending, eating, running, dancing, singing. Or the infinitive is when you have to plus the base verb. And in English, there are certain verbs that sometimes they are going to be followed by the gerund, and other verbs will be followed by the infinitive. Some verbs you can use with both. For example, the verb like. If I say, I like dancing, all right? Dancing is the gerund, ing. I like dancing. I could also use it with the infinitive, I like to dance. The verb like you can use with both. If we're talking about avoid, you're going to follow that with the gerund. I avoid traveling to dangerous places. I don't avoid eating junk food. I probably should avoid eating junk food, but I don't always. So again, if you're talking about verbs like avoid, enjoy, regret, you will follow it with the gerund. Other examples that I gave you over there, hope, learn, need, you will follow that with the infinitive. So I hope to run another marathon someday. All right, to run, that is the infinitive. And if you want to learn more, gerunds and infinitives, here we go. There is a nice long live lesson for you. The next one is, it's a question, okay? So it's definitely a question, all right? You're going to watch another video lesson, are you? All right. You're going to watch another video lesson, are you? This is a question that I have for you right after this lesson right here. I'm not going to ask you this question because it's wrong. But what do you think is the mistake? What's wrong with this sentence? You're going to watch another video lesson, are you? So again, I hope even if you're not sure what the mistake is, that you can just listen to it and be like, wait a second, there's a problem with this question. And the problem is, yes, like many of you have just pointed out, aren't you? Excellent. Aiden, Abu, Jamila. We're talking about tag questions. So if you don't know what tag questions are, it's a way of, you're asking a question, but you're using a statement first. So for example, my statement is like, you're going to watch another video lesson. and then I follow that with my tag, which is my tag question. You're going to watch another video lesson, aren't you? Now, the rule with tag questions is that if you have a positive statement, you're going to have a negative tag. So in this case, you're going to watch another lesson. It's a positive statement, so I use that negative tag, aren't you? Kind of saying like, are you not going to do this? Aren't you? Now, if it's a negative statement, then you're going to use a positive tag. Let me give you a quick example. So I'm going to change this to a negative, and I'd say, oh, you're not going to watch another video lesson, are you? So in that case, that was a negative statement followed by a positive tag. You're not going to watch another video lesson, are you? But that's not the question I want to convey to you guys. I'd want to ask you, oh, you're going to watch another video lesson, aren't you? And if you want to learn more about tag questions, then you might want to watch this lesson right here. And I hope that you guys have seen some of these other lessons before, and maybe that has made it easier for you to answer these questions right now. So let's look at this one. By the time I arrived at the restaurant, everyone was already ordered. All right? By the time I arrived at the restaurant, everyone was already ordered. So again, I hope that it's a little easier just having just this one sentence. I know when you're talking about if you're looking at helping somebody correct an essay or a message and you're having to read many different sentences, it becomes a little more difficult to identify different grammar mistakes. But again, practice, and more practice is just an excellent way to get better at doing this. So by the time I arrived at the restaurant, everyone was already ordered. So the problem that I think many of you are pointing out is the verb was, all right? That is the problem. We don't want to say was ordered because that's not a passive statement. What we're talking about in this case is a different verb tense, which is the past perfect. By the time I arrived at the restaurant, everyone had already ordered. This is a great example of when you would use the past perfect. And I'll link the lesson in just a second, but this is what it means, the past perfect, because we use this verb tense to refer to an action in the past that happened before some other action in the past. So you're talking about two actions in the past or two events, and you're basically saying that, well, one happened before this one, but both of them happened in the past. Because I say, by the time I arrived at the restaurant, all right, that is something that happened in the past. What happened before that? Everyone had already ordered, all right? That happened even further back in the past. So again, this is, as far as a verb tense, past perfect is a little trickier, and it's one that learners tend to learn later on, is the past perfect tense. It's great to know, good to use. There is a lesson that we did talking all about the past perfect if you want to learn more about this verb tense. Then we have this one. I hope that you guys get this one because this was, I think, a more popular lesson that we did. The doctor recommends she gets some sleep. All right? The doctor recommends she gets some sleep. What do you think? All right? What would you say is the problem with this sentence? Write your answer, write it in the chat. And even if you're watching, again, this later on, I would always encourage you, write your answers in the comments. It's a great way to, again, you're practicing your writing skills and you are actually getting a little bit more practice. So the doctor recommends she gets some sleep. All right. Now, all right, I see some people, you got it. Now, what this sentence is, it's talking about the subjunctive mood. And we did a lesson before about the subjunctive mood. So the problem with this, the grammar would be gets. All right. Oh, Pizzeria. Thank you. Thank you guys for joining. Thanks for becoming a member. Excellent. So gets is the problem with this. And let me show you what. The sentence should read, the doctor recommends that she gets some sleep. Now, the one thing I didn't have before is that word that. In this case, it's optional. All right. You don't have to say that. If you want to, you can use it. If you don't want to, that's perfectly fine. It does not change. It does not make the sentence correct or incorrect. I could say, the doctor recommends she get some sleep. That's perfectly fine. The doctor recommends that she get some sleep. That's also perfectly fine. Now, the question would be she get, because many of you might be wondering, well, wait, you just talked about subject-verb agreement. The subject has to agree with the verb. She gets. Now, when we're talking about the subjunctive mood, this is an instance when you are not going to conjugate that verb with the subject. You're just going to use the base verb. The doctor recommends she get some sleep. And it's not, we don't use it with many verbs, but there are some verbs that you may commonly use the subjunctive mood. I've listed them down there. Verbs like recommend, suggest, proposed, insist, demand. Those are verbs that grammatically, to be grammatically correct, you would use the subjunctive mood and just say she get. This is a rule that I think you may hear a lot of people breaking, especially in spoken English, but just to be grammatically precise, this would be an example of the subjunctive mood. And I did another lesson talking about 3 common grammar mistakes a while back, and one of them was discussing the subjunctive mood. So there is a link to that lesson right there in the chat. Let's do another one. All right. Now this one I feel like is definitely, this is more advanced grammar. And hopefully you can, just because it's one sentence, hopefully you can get it and think, oh, okay, I understand this. If I will take some medicine this morning, I wouldn't feel sick right now. So you see that if, then that just tells you right there, this is a conditional sentence. It's another conditional sentence. So what do you think is the problem with this, or what might be the problem? If I will take some medicine this morning, I wouldn't feel sick right now. Okay. So what I would go ahead and tell you, remember I told you that in the result, our main clause, that is where your main verb is, such as I wouldn't feel sick right now. All right. So would not feel. That is our main verb, and it's talking about the present. Okay. The problem is in the condition. If I will take some medicine this morning, all right, I don't want to use the future tense. That is incorrect. The reason why this is challenging is because it is a mixed conditional, all right? If I had taken some medicine this morning, I wouldn't feel sick right now. I say it's a mixed conditional because the first part, the condition, is the third conditional. If I had taken some medicine this morning. The third conditional is used to talk about things that are, well, kind of impossible. And it's impossible because it already happened. You cannot change this. So in that case, you're going to use that past perfect. If I had taken medicine this morning. And this next one, the result is a present result, which is going to be the second conditional. All right. I would not, I would not feel sick right now. So you're mixing the second and the third conditional, which is why it's called a mixed conditional. And this is definitely something that can be very confusing. And I did a rather long lesson before about mixed conditionals, and I really tried to break it down and give you a lot of different examples, hopefully to make it easier. So if you want to learn more about mixed conditionals, you can go check out that lesson right there. And once again, I will link all of these down in the description below. So I really hope that you guys enjoyed this lesson. And if you like what we do here at Interactive English and you want to sponsor or support our channel, you can check out our YouTube membership. There is a button on our page, or you can join us on Patreon. We have some cool rewards. There are links down below to both of them in the description. And like I said, we had a new member today, Putri Saria. Sorry if I mispronounce your name, but thank you so much for becoming a member. And again, I would encourage you, if you saw some grammar today in one of these questions that you thought was confusing, that you don't really understand, I would encourage you to go watch the other lesson that I posted. And hopefully that'll help you that'll give you a clearer understanding about how the grammar is used. So thank you guys so much for joining me today. Sarisha, Ricardo, Aiden, now Mike Tyson, Sajid, Yoka, Vivek, Alyssa, Angela, Lali, Gosia. Just trying to run through some names as quickly as possible. Lali, Rose, Gustav, Vicky, Daniel, Gertrudis, thank you guys so much. I hope that you enjoy the rest of your weekend. Nat, yes, thank you. Father's Day. Father's Day is tomorrow. It's my second Father's Day that I am celebrating. Hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you guys next time. So long.